Welcome to the Career Change Podcast, where you'll discover the frank and practical advice and resources that are already proven to work in the real world when it comes to changing careers or figuring out what business is right for you when you are a smart but likely also stuck, overwhelmed, or overthinking person in your mid-30s, your 40s, your mid-50s. I'm your host, Rikke Hansen, a career change advisor, entrepreneur, and former corporate HR professional with over 15 years experience of helping thousands of people just like you identify or create careers or businesses that are both meaningful and future-proof. Welcome home. Let's talk about a very common and often very paralyzing fear amongst mid-career professionals. And that's the fear of throwing it all away if you change careers at this stage in your life. So I often hear this from those of you who are over 30, 35, 40, 45. So this episode is for you. If you worked very hard to get to where you are today in your line of work, you're likely very good at what you do. You likely got a great reputation. You're respected by your colleagues. But because you know in your bones that you need a change, you're fed up, you're not happy, you're frustrated, you have no interest any longer in what you're doing, you might wake up at 3 a.m. and having your mind wade through the following fear scenario. Oh my God. But what if I throw it all away by changing careers at my age, at this stage in my career? Followed by a picture or an image of you sliding all the way down the ladder of career progression and being swallowed by an endless pit of oblivion, never to re-emerge, or spending years or decades clawing your way back up. Or insert your own favorite horror scene here, right? You can probably relate to that 3 a.m. fear of, oh man, will I throw it all away if I do this? As you know, the Career Change Podcast is very much about going from vague to concrete. So whilst I totally get and understand your fear, I want you to know that like many, many other career change fears that my listeners and clients, they share with me, this one is actually based on a misunderstanding or an out-of-date awareness of how career change actually, and also the world of work, actually works these days, and also how it works once you're past 35. Okay? So in this episode, what I really want to do, I want to pull apart this fear or this worry, and I want to help you replace it with a much more empowering way, or several more empowering ways of approaching your career transition, especially bearing in mind that if you're worried that, oh my God, what if I throw it all away? Will I have to start from scratch again? Will I throw it all away? You are likely not feeling very motivated or excited about doing it, right? So what I want to cover here, I've broken into what I think of as 3 different replacement suggestions to replace the worry with, so you can actually do something concrete that's much more helpful and reality checked and empowering than just worrying about throwing it all away. So listen in with these 3 tips and some tools that I have here, and then just start by picking the most helpful, the most urgent one for you and start applying it. I really don't want you just to listen and be entertained or whatever you do in terms of why you listen to podcasts like this. I really want you to start applying what you learn here, because I promise you there are powerful alternatives to being in fear. Especially those 3 a.m. fears about, oh, will I throw it all away if I change careers? It is not helpful. It's not a nice place to be, okay? So the 3 things we'll talk about what to do instead is, number 1, identify what needs to be thrown away, right? Clearly something needs to go. You're in pain. You're not happy. You're fed up. So clearly something needs to be thrown away. Number 2 is that you are not being thrown away, and you already have a lot to offer. I get the fear about going empty-handed into what's next, but you're not going to go empty-handed into what's next. That's one of the great things about age. You already have a lot to offer, but it's up to you to show that. And then number 3, get used to doing regular career edits. Here's the thing, spoiler alert, this won't be your only or your last career change. And because our working lives are getting longer, look at the pension age. We're going to have to work many, many more years than we likely expect. So we want to make sure we make our day-to-day experience of work sustainable, right? So let's start with number 1. Identify what needs to be thrown away. So I want you to reframe how you view your career change. Because right now, if you are viewing your career change as throwing it all away, that's unhelpful. It's not empowering. What about replacing it and thinking of your career change as a letting go and getting rid of the elements of your current career that are causing you the most pain, in addition to obviously adding new ones, etc. But I really want to establish a baseline here, because if right now you are not happy, you're not fulfilled in your career, then something, and you are in pain, right? Then something clearly needs to be thrown away. You know what, my friend? You should look at that as a positive thing. You should want to throw those things away that are causing you so much trouble and that are holding you back from really working to your full potential and exploring what you're truly capable of. That's an amazing opportunity that you're very lucky to have, right? So if we agree that yes, you are in pain, you should want to remove the culprits, right? And here's the thing. Let's say you have tonsillitis. You just need to remove the tonsils, not kill all of you, right? And that's kind of what people are doing when they say, oh, I'm going to throw it all away by changing careers. It's like, don't be so bloody dramatic, okay? We just need to remove the culprits that are causing the most pain. And here's also another reason why you should want to both identify and remove those elements that are causing you so much pain, is because if you don't become aware of them, you don't, consciously aware of them, really name them, identify them, you are going to end up repeating those very same elements in your next job, in your next career, in your own business. I see this again and again. One of the most common mistakes that people make when they try to figure this out by themselves and they just want to run away and leave everything behind and not look at any of the learnings is that they just end up repeating the very same pain point in that new career and that new business. A little bit like a relationship analogy. Those people who always make the same mistakes in every single relationship, rather than actually starting to think about, could there be something they're repeating here they might want to identify and start moving away from, okay? So it's only when you don't actually do this identification that you end up throwing it all away, right? We want to just throw away the right bits, the ones that are causing you the most pain. And you should want to do that. So one tool that I often recommend for my clients is what I call your stop doing list. But for the purposes of this episode, let's call it your throw away list. You need to start identifying, compiling your throwaway list, your stop doing list. And the action here is really you want to identify the elements in your career that are causing you the most pain, either right now or over the last couple of years. And you want to start moving away from them, start eliminating them, start minimizing so you can free up energy and focus. This could be anything from you working in a toxic company culture, you have management issues, you have a toxic boss, long working hours, exhausting or burnout, or it could also be things that are more related to your actual profession, such as you don't care about the subject, you find the CPD, the continuous professional development, boring, you don't want to do it, you don't like the future prospects. And when you look at superiors who are further down that career, you don't want that. You don't want what they have. You don't want to be like them. So again, go from vague to concrete. This is a really great place to start. And once you start identifying what the elements are that are actually causing you so much pain, you will also start realizing what the real problem is, whether it's just, your current job and the elements there, or whether it's actually your entire profession. This is something I help my clients do inside of your career change map, where we literally have a profession versus job test to try to help them figure out, well, do you actually need to leave your entire profession behind? Or is it just certain overlying elements like culture and management style and your boss and the working hours? Is it actually a health issue? What is it? So it's important for you to also start there, because if you don't, you do indeed risk throwing all the good bits away too, and then you're screwed, right? You don't want to do that. You want to just throw away and stop doing the things that are causing you the most pain. And it should feel so good to compile this throwaway/stop doing list. Think about what would you never want to touch with a barge pole again if you could. Now remember, this is not a wish list for the Christmas, like a long, long list. Be reality checked here. Pick the few biggest pain points, really identify them, really get to the core of what's causing you all that pain, right? Because you should definitely want to identify that and start getting rid of it. That should be something you'd be really motivated to do. And can you see how we now shifted into really positive, empowering territory here, where you can actually see the reason why something actually needs to go, why it needs to be identified and thrown away, start moving away from. That should get you excited. That should get you motivated, because here's what's happening. Here's what will happen when you start doing that. You'll free up energy, you'll free up focus, and it'll give you power back in your court, right? That's so, so important. So, number 2 is that you are not being thrown away, and you already have a lot to offer, right? This is so important. You are not being thrown away, and you already have a lot to offer. That's one of the great things about your age and about your experience. Because here's the thing. One of the biggest misconceptions and out-of-date ideas of changing careers after, let's say, 35, after a certain age, is that you'll therefore, at that stage, be sliding all the way down the bottom of the career ladder, and then you're going to have to spend years or decades clawing your way back up, and it might never happen. You'll forever be lost, kind of thing. Now, I can assure you that the way things work nowadays is that if you approach your career transition in an intelligent way and you're very clear about what stays and what goes, this does not have to be the case. Now, it might be that in certain circumstances, and especially if you insist on going the employee route, it might be that you might have to go sideways or slide down a little bit, but the speed with which you'll move up again is one of the advantages that you have after 35. If you actually take the time to truly identify and own the skills, the experience you already have to offer and that you enjoy, i.e., remember, you're not throwing it all away. Life has prepared you for this. The skills, the achievements, unique selling points, your unfair advantages, all the stuff that your career or line of work so far has actually helped you gain. Even if you want to leave it behind, there are things you can build on. There is a foundation you can build on. But in other words, you are not being thrown away. All that's being thrown away is, the things that you identified in your throwaway list, your stop doing list, the things that have caused you the most pain in your career so far. The rest can stay, and you can use the rest as a really solid foundation to build for what's next, right? In addition to obviously adding the missing ingredients, figuring out what else you want to add, but you can absolutely keep the best bits. You already have a solid foundation. You do not have to go empty-handed into your career change, your next career, your first business. You do not have to go in empty-handed. You just need to figure out, what do I already have that I've had achievements in, that are great skills that I have, unfair advantages, unique things about me, all the great things that are a result of you having lived and worked for many years. Never underestimate the fact that life has prepared you for this. I've seen this with every single of my career change clients. And I think often this is more something that people worry about when they want to change careers but still be an employee. But the thing is, if you play this right, it can really work to your advantage. I think the career changer that I helped make the career change that was probably the biggest, and where I really wanted him to start his own company, but he wouldn't want to do that, and he also really wanted to do everything properly, was Ben, who was a management consultant who wanted to become a landscape architect. And he literally went back, did a master's in landscape architecture, and then he insisted on wanting to go in and be hired by a landscape architecture company. And he was hired ahead of, he was in his 40s. He was hired ahead of, kids half his age, straight out of uni, this and that. But he was hired because they were really interested, and because he'd worked with me, he knew how to play up the skills he already had. They were really interested in his business building skills, his presentation skills, his all the skills that he learned as a management consultant and client skills, all of that. So even though he originally had to, in traditional terms, slide slightly down the ladder or move sideways, whatever it was, he fast-tracked up the ranks really quickly because of these very, very solid skills. So he wasn't just hired like a new graduate. He was hired like a real professional hire with loads to offer already, in exchange for obviously also learning something from them, because it was a new thing he went into. He's probably the most sort of dramatic career change I've ever advised on, where there was potentially, you could see that might have been a bit of a sliding down the scale, but he came pretty quickly up, because he was very good at capitalizing on what he already had to offer and make that clear. But here's the thing, things have changed so much in terms of, there aren't really so many of these kind of classic career ladders anymore. This sort of, everything is a matter of you playing this right. And this point is really up to you. Don't be lazy with your career change. Lazy is believing you're going to throw it all away and slide all the way to the bottom and never get up again. If you are intelligent, you're smart, and you really focus on identifying what stays that you want to build on, and what you have to offer, make that really clear, and also get clear on what goes, right? And you realize that your understanding you're understanding this of the age of career ladders as being the norm. It's probably well past the expiration stage, especially if you're keen. The thing is, the only time you really have to worry about career ladders is if you're keen to join another boring profession, which you probably aren't. You probably wouldn't be listening here if you were keen to join another boring profession, right? So what I want to say here is own it. Own what you already have to offer. Embrace the gift of age. Life has already prepared you for this career change, for choosing a different career, your own business. You've likely spent 5, 10, 20, 25 years working already. So focus on what is working, what you're good at, what are you getting results with. You need to have something to offer, right? So you don't have to go empty-handed into what's next. And a quick exercise I want you to do or a tool I often use is what I call the reverse bucket list. Let's just call it that for the purposes of this particular episode. I call it different things, but I want you to think about it like a reverse bucket list. Think over your biggest career achievements. What did you do? What was the problem? What did you do? What was the outcome? And what you'll find when you think through your biggest achievements, you'll often find there is a unique combination of skills that you have that's unique to you, a mixture of personality traits, a mixture of skills, unfair advantages, quirks. This is really, you really want to milk all of that. What is it that you do again and again? What are those skills? What are those achievements? Is it your, personal skills, your ability to really convince people, get buy-in, all of that kind of stuff? Or are you really good at research? What is it? And also, what is it that's unique about you? Write that down. Look at what you already have to offer. Make a reverse bucket list. This is so, so important, because what happens when you think, I'm going to throw it all away and slide all the way down, I have nothing to offer, is really what you're telling yourself. You're telling yourself you have nothing to offer. And my friend, that is not true. Life, your career so far, everything you've done up to this moment, there are things that you can use. So start compiling your reverse bucket list and look at what you already do have to offer. And then obviously you need to translate it depending on where you're going next. Different lines of work, different worlds of work, they have different lingo. You want to make it relevant. That job is up to you. Please don't rely on recruiters. Don't rely on job ads. You want to do that translation piece yourself. What is it called? Start making inroads into these new world of work you want to work in. What is the lingo they use? Make friends in this new field outside of your current group. This is one of the most important things. You want to start speaking the language of this new field you want to go into. You want to make friends. If this is something that's you're worried about or you're not really sure how to do, make sure you listen to the Career Change Podcast episode number 20, where there's a lot about the dreaded work networking, which I prefer to call how to make friends. And also you want to get used to talking about yourself in the sense of your new identity, right? Talk about yourself in terms of where it is you want to go next and make your past relevant in the light of the future. If you want me to go deeper with any of these things I'm talking about, remember, that's what the Career Change Podcast is all about. Just come over to the careerchangepodcast.com, sign up for the newsletter, just reply to any of those emails and let me know if there's anything here you want me to go, further into with more details in any of the coming episodes. Just let me know. This podcast is for you. All right. So here's what I know for sure from the bottom of my heart, having worked with so many people for so many years. Please listen to this. Here's what I know for sure. Transitioning into a new career or starting your own business doesn't overnight invalidate all of the incredible experience and the results you've achieved in another field and who you are as a person, including your professional assets and the capital that you've accumulated over the many years that you worked. Just make sure that you do the translation work to show your future employers or your future clients how come your past is so incredibly relevant and a really unique selling point. Stop shrinking. You already have so much to offer already. Like I've kept saying, life and your career so far has already prepared you for this. Just own it. So remember, my friend, you are not being thrown away and you already have a lot to offer. Focus on that. Number 3, get used to doing regular career edits. Spoiler alert, this won't be your only or your last career change. And because our working lives are getting longer, we really need to make them more sustainable so we can keep working and we can keep earning. And here's another reason, again, why you might want to get cracking with that career change now is because, like I said, this really won't be your first or your last. The world of work is changing. And it has been changing for a number of years dramatically. And this is not just for kids in their 20s. You know, we are all being hit with similar issues, no matter what your age, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s plus. So career changes, career edits, starting your own business, not just job changes will become more and more the norm, right? So it's not just, the norm is no longer just becoming like just job changes. It's going to be career changes, career edits, career reconfigurations, self-employment, back to work, back to working for someone else, then maybe, going freelance for a while, starting your own company, then maybe a job. We will be working much longer into our later years. Unless you're a millionaire who's immune to the stock market, right? So the sooner you start doing and getting good at doing these career edits or career changes, as in you don't wait for circumstances to force you because you're burned out and ill, you're made redundant, you're replaced by someone younger or better or someone who actually cares about what they do. You don't want to wait till that happens. You want to start now while you can be in charge of your career transition. Right? The sooner you start getting used to doing regular career edits or career changes, i.e. actually starting to, and I like the word career edits also because sometimes you don't need a complete career change, though sometimes you do. Sometimes it's also just doing career edits and look at a little bit like we did in point number 1. What are the elements that need to go? This is so important. Get used to doing that because the more regularly you do that, the more power you'll have. And the more competitive you'll be in the workplace when you are someone who's in charge of your career change, because someone who is proactive and engaged and doing things because they want to do it, they're motivated, is damn attractive, right? You will have an unfair advantage. Most people just wait until it's too late. They're intimidated by change. They're fearful. They're kind of like, no, just going to see what happens. You don't want to be like that. You want to get used to doing regular career edits like this. You want to reframe it. This is not about throwing it all away. It's about doing regular, ongoing career edits. Right? And it does not always have to be a matter of all or nothing. And remember, with your age, you have an unfair advantage. You have an existing foundation to build on, right? But get used to looking at what stays, what goes, what do you want to add. Also, here's the reality. One career change is not going to solve every single problem that you have forever, right? You change, the world changes, your circumstances changes, so regular edits are important. And the sooner you start doing this, the more power you will have and the more competitive you'll be in the workplace. It is attractive. Like I said, most people wait until it's way too late, right? And also, why would you want to be someone who keeps doing something they hate and don't enjoy and who keeps tolerating elements that are clearly not suitable for them? So you stop giving your power away and stop worrying about throwing it all away. Worry more about keeping all of those bits that are making you so goddamn unhappy, all right? You should want to throw them away, but be very clear about what stays and what it is that you're throwing away. Here's the thing. This is a much more realistic approach to career change than this kind of perfectionist who insists on getting it all perfect in one swell swoop, right? Good luck, right? What creating work that you love, you enjoy, you're good at, that's meaningful, that's something you approximate over time. And you get closer as you get closer and closer and closer over time. Because here's the reason why you want to do regular career edits. You'll change, your life circumstances will change, the world will keep changing, and hence why you want to keep up to date with that. You should want to do regular edits where you look at what stays and what goes, right? And you want to get started now with creating a work life that's meaningful, that feels like you. That is a privilege that is yours for the taking right now. Meanwhile, you're worried about things that, are out of date. So wouldn't you rather be in charge and you being the person deciding what stays and what goes and what to build on and what to add? Okay, let's do a recap. I want you to move away from thinking that you are throwing it all away and you'll never get back up towards empowering yourself to actually be in charge of your career journey, full stop. And realize you actually have a problem on your hands right now that needs to be taken seriously. You are in pain, right? Clearly something needs to go. And then get excited about starting this lifelong editing process now. Here's what you do. You want to, number one, identify what needs to be thrown away. Okay? Start doing that throwaway list or stop doing list. Number two, remember, my dear listener, you are not being thrown away and you already have a lot to offer. Start doing your reverse bucket list. What is it you've already done that's so great? You do not have to go empty-handed into what's next. And then number three, get used to doing regular career edits. This won't be your only career change and we are working longer. So start now. Start, moving towards a career, whether that's a job, a freelancing, a business that's truly enjoyable. Give yourself the unfair advantage of actually being someone who wants to work for a long time because you enjoy what you do versus staying stuck in something you don't enjoy that you might even hate. That's unsustainable, okay? And remember this, transitioning into a new career or starting your own business doesn't overnight invalidate all of the incredible experiences and results you've achieved in another field. Nor does it, invalidate who you are as a person, including your professional assets and capital. Just make sure that you do the translation work to show your future employees or clients how come your past is so incredibly relevant and a unique selling point. Stop shrinking. Life has prepared you for this moment and you already have so much to offer. So you should want to get rid of what's causing you all that pain and then get ready to enjoy the energy, the focus, and the power that will free up from you so you can go after or figure out what you really want. Now, if you want help with that, make sure you come over to thecareerchangepodcast.com and I'll see you there. Thank you so much for listening.